Well, hello everyone. We are Chris and Carol Green, and we welcome you to the Responding with Care podcast,
Welcome.
where we introduce you to some of the most caring people in the world. Oh my goodness. These are the people who have been doing phenomenal work for many years in their communities. CARE, the acronym that we use, stands for compassion and civility. A is for awareness and accountability. R is for respect, and E is for empathy. And that's what the people that we bring onto this podcast, this is what they have imparted into many, many lives. Throughout this year, Carol and I, are celebrating our last 20 years of service and ministry locally, nationally, and even internationally. And we want to interview the extraordinary people, just some of the extraordinary people that we've encountered in our journey. And we have a slogan that comes from a very powerful poem that was written decades ago. And so today we say, you don't have to try to light up the whole world, just brighten the corner where you live. And that's what today's guest, what she's been doing. Our guest today is licensed professional counselor Amethyst Roberson. She operates in the state of Missouri and in Florida. She's also a nationally certified counselor, a master life coach and trainer. She provides mental health consulting and personalized therapy services and spiritual guidance. And we're going to let her tell you what all of that involves. Uh, some of the things she offers are like couples intensive therapy, content creation support for therapists. And she has a signature program such as Rise, which involves self-care and so much more. Again, we're going to let her talk to you guys about all of that. Her services really are designed to empower individuals and couples and even organizations. That's the thing about it. She also includes organizations to help them achieve mental wellness and spiritual growth. And Amethyst, I want to tell you, she's been doing this. This isn't a novice.
Right.
She's been serving in her community, in ministry, and in business for over 20 years. And she's happily married. We know her husband, Jose. Um, and we were able to even be a part of their ceremony. And she's the co-founder of a nonprofit initiative known as Care Solutions. And I find it interesting that even though we're miles apart from each other and didn't even know it, we kind of landed on that CARE acronym, and she landed on that CARE acronym. Her acronym isn't the same as ours, but the thought is still the same of bringing care solutions to our communities. And through that nonprofit, what's in their heart is to provide free counseling to teens and young adults in the St. Louis, Missouri area. So her committal to mental health, it extends beyond individual sessions to include a broader community support mindset and community support and advocacy. She's also the author of several books and journals, and she's actually an Amazon best-selling author. So I want you to welcome to our podcast Amethyst Roberson. Hello, Am.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that introduction.
We are super excited about having you with us today. And we got those three questions. Everybody that watches our podcast knows that we ask our guests three specific questions. And so we want to dive right into it. And so I know I said a lot in introducing you, but just tell us about some of those programs and services that you've been able to successfully implement in your community.
Yeah, I think that the best way to describe, because I'm actually in the process of kind of condensing everything, but to master mental health, because there's so many aspects to mental health. And that can be addressed through different ways. And so coaching, one-on-one, group coaching, certification, supervision. I'm also a state supervisor for licensed clinicians to help them get their license.
Wow.
Um, so the content creation piece that I do, that is to help them master what marketing aspect they need to help others in the field. And then ultimately, as a licensed therapist, of course, that helps others master their mental health through different ways too. And so I'm kind of putting everything under
Yeah.
umbrella of I help people master their mental health.
Oh,
With mental health, the way that we help individuals could be kind of like an acute way, meaning we
yeah.
just provide resources, informations, some of the books that I've written, collaborations that I've been a part of to write, and also some of the journals. That's all like a resource for individuals that may not come into the office,
Yeah.
that may not want a formal program, and so I'm really building up more resources like that. And then you get into maybe a more of a chronic situation of mental health where
Yeah.
you've maybe dealt with mental health for a while, and you do want something formal. You do want a relationship with a practitioner, a therapist, a life coach, someone that can do it one on one with you or in a group setting. The group setting offers an opportunity for you to see other people who have gone through
Yeah.
what you've gone through and get wisdom and feedback. So I do something called psychoeducational groups and
Okay.
then clinical groups. The psychoeducational is sort of piloted and done with the people or by the people who are in the group. So
Oh
I kind
my.
of take a step back and I give them a topic and they're able to work through things on their own and use maybe one or two of the books or resources that we have to kind of just fuel the conversation that they may have.
Yeah.
But then there's clinical groups where I lead those. It could be anxiety, depression, any type of mental health concern, where I would be sort of the lead in that and help people learn new techniques and skills to help them navigate through those mental health crises or concerns that they may have. So it goes on and on. And so these are like bedrock ways that, like in the community in St. Louis,
Yeah.
in Florida, and hopefully this next coming year, we'll be expanding to other states where we can provide a lot of these different types of services. So, again, like that acute, smaller resources we provide for individuals, but then we also have in person and online virtual services that anyone can participate in from young into old. So that's a little bit about what I do.
I was particularly intrigued by the how you offer couples intensive therapy. Tell us what that's
No,
about.
yeah. So I get a lot of couples that a couple of situations. It may be that the topic that they're going through, or the concern, like communication, where they just can't do it in 1 hour. Like they
Yeah.
need more time. So I work with like one particular couple I'm working with. We meet 2 hours per week,
Okay.
and we take every bit of those 2 hours. Have two individuals working through a lot of life stuff, and
Mm,
1 hour is just not enough time. And so this is also for those critical type of situations. So this crisis type of format is it could be an 8 hour session, meaning we take a day, we'll take a lunch break, and
mhm.
throughout the day we'll take breaks when we need it, or like if someone gets upset, we can walk away and have time to
Okay.
come back and
Okay.
start the conversation. But that's what a couples intensive is individuals that may live out of town that want to come in for a weekend. You can do
Okay.
that intensive for 3 days, one day, 2 hours a week. It just gives you an opportunity to have more time to process what you're going through,
Okay.
take all of that what you learned, and then start really implementing that, and maybe come back in a month or two to
Okay.
see what other things that you can work on to help establish a better relationship. So that's a little bit about what it's been so far. So,
Oh my. That is really awesome.
and they
Another
come from all kind of reasons. Yeah.
Another thing that we mentioned when we were introducing you was your signature training programs such as Rise and self-care. Why is self-care becoming such a buzzword right now, and why did you get into that aspect in your training programs?
I think self-care is like the bedrock of it all. Like there in a way, like mental health issues, there are some things that are like you people have predispositions for mental health. But then there are also situations where it's kind of a garden variety, meaning you walked into that or you made decisions that led to that.
Mm.
Or or it could be a traumatic situation that you were faced with and it just changed you.
Yeah.
And so there's a reality that the things that life doesn't just life lives and it affects us.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think that self-care is a way to really slow down our systems, slow down our relationships so that we can really see how we have been affected by the things that life has brought us.
Yeah.
And if you live a life where you're not able to really sense and know how it's affected you, then you start getting to issues where people were may say, hey, I didn't know that that really affected me that way.
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
don't know why I'm communicating that way,
Mhm.
but there are reasons why we communicate like we do, and self-care gives us that initiative and way to slow down so that we can be intentional about how life has affected us and do something about it. So that's why it's so important because it gives us an opportunity to really start addressing mental health in a different way.
Mhm.
Wow.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
think that is so excellent. Oh my
Mhm.
goodness. There's one last thing I want to ask you about
I-
concerning your programs and services. You also provide spiritual guidance. How in the world, in the midst of talking about mental health consulting and therapy services and life coaching and couples intensives and now self-care, how do you incorporate spiritual guidance in the midst of all of that?
Mm.
That's a great question. So the first thing that came, one, my story is not just my story.
Yeah.
It is what God wants me to use as a stepping stone into people's lives. So I would be selfish not to share my own story and where God has brought me from. And so I've made it intentionally a thing to where, like, I'm marketing now. I actually put on there, Christian counseling,
Mhm.
Yeah.
biblical principles are offered. If you want to pray, God uses me in the prophetic. Like, I don't want to be that Christian that hides my gift
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
the sake of therapy.
Yeah.
That comes first. God, that's me putting God first,
Yes.
Yeah.
allowing God to speak through me, wisdom. So I get a lot of people that come to me that say, I read your bio. I see that that you will pray for me.
Yeah.
And in some cases, people just want prayer. They just
Right.
want to hear from God through
Mm.
another individual to validate that what they're going through, like, this is real.
It's
Yes.
real. Yeah.
Pain is real. And
Yeah.
a lot of times people take that and that's all they needed to really start healing.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily need validation from another person, but it does feel good when you can see that somebody else went through what you went through and
Yeah.
that you're going to make it too.
Yes.
So that's one perspective. But the other one is, I just truly believe that the word of God is superior to any other therapy that I'm doing.
Yeah.
It's the thing that brought me healing.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I can't hold that back.
Yeah.
you know and so people are simply just gravitating, maybe, in some cases they don't know that I'm a Christian, they don't know that I'll share those things, but they begin to share it. As therapists, we can't particularly share those things unless they bring it up,
Yeah.
but once they do, they ask for specific things about the word, and people have just been encouraged during the sessions through that. So I'm trying to really facilitate that through actually holding and advertising and marketing that as an opportunity for people to find healing, because
Yeah.
it comes through God either way.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's what that's about.
Oh, that is so
Yeah.
excellent. Thank you. I'm so glad that
Yeah.
you're able to share that. It kind of leads right into the question number two, which is what are some of the challenges that you have had to overcome in
Woo.
order to keep moving forward? I mean, you've been doing this for 20 years. So what were
Yeah.
some of the things that that you had to overcome? Like, how does one even get
Right.
started
Initially, huh?
initially, and how do what are some of the things that came up against you
Yeah.
when you were first getting started in that community, and
Mhm.
how did you overcome that?
Yeah, I mean, so I mean, if you go back, after high school, or actually right before I graduated from high school, I just didn't have my mindset, my mind right, and I was into all sorts of things. And like when I was thinking about this, I thought about when I had gotten into this big fight. I was probably 2 years out, to 1 or 2 years out from graduating, and I got into this huge fight and I ended up in a jail cell. And I was
My
sitting there
goodness.
and I remember, and we've talked about that before. And I remember sitting there wondering, like, how did I get here?
Mm.
Yeah.
Like, what's going on in my life that's so bad that, and I realized some of this stuff was internal, my own mental health, my
Yeah.
own
Yeah.
struggle with depression, my own struggle with anxiety, with self-esteem and how I saw myself.
Mm.
And I think what really happened that night while I was sitting there is that God truly showed me his love for me.
Right.
He impacted me by just speak, and I always tell people this testimony. I prayed a prayer, God, if you get me out of this, I'll serve you. And I didn't
Right.
know what that meant. Look, I didn't
Right.
even know God. That I wanted out of there. So that was my bargaining chip for God. You get me out of this, I'm going to serve you. And I don't know what that's going to take.
Yeah.
But he also showed me unconditional love that, no matter what you've gone through, no matter how you see yourself, I love you. I want you. See, I love you and I want you are two different things.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we can tell our family, I love you, but I want you in my life. And so I think that's what stood out when I thought about that question. That's what stood out is that God, you want me?
Right.
Yeah.
Me? I'm broken. I'm bruised. I'm battered. I've been traumatized.
Yeah.
But you want me?
Right.
And I made a decision. That was my first understanding of what discernment was on my life, to discern that, okay, not just because I'm in trouble, but I'm being introduced to something that's going to be pivotal in changing my entire life.
Yeah.
It gave me purpose that night to
Yeah.
know that God not only loved me, that he wanted me,
Oh
that
my
I
goodness.
was worth saving.
Yes.
That's what changed my life. And then he connected me with two people who are on this screen with me who actually highlighted that even more. I don't know if, Carol, I don't know if you remember me writing a letter. I wrote a letter. I wrote in that letter everything I could have possibly done. Because in my mind, I still hadn't made restitution in my own self that I was good enough. So I remember writing that letter to you and to another sister that's my best friend now. And you all just simply said, like, I don't remember the exact words, but it was like, is that all? Like, is there more to this story? Because what you've gone through is nothing is too hard for God.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember that, but I do. That was the day. So God validated me, and then God used other women to validate me,
Yeah.
who didn't turn me away, who didn't leave me in my shame, who chose to help me through my pain until I reached purpose.
Right.
Yeah.
See, you can say to me, you have a purpose, Am. God's going to use you, but to actually get down in the grit, in the turmoil, want to
Yeah.
hear and know your story, help you walk through the ups and because y'all know I walked through some ups and downs even after that.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
But you stayed in there. So that's a little, like, I could go on and on. That's a little bit about what challenges I went through prior to that, going through, we it used to be called committing suicide, but now
Yeah.
it's called unaliving yourself or
Unaliving.
something
Yeah.
to that. Yeah. And
Yeah.
so I went through a period where I didn't want to be on this earth anymore.
Mm.
But it took in that moment, the same thing happened. There were people who found out about it. They got up out of their beds, drove to this house.
Yeah.
And I'm just being honest because guess what? 1 in 4
Yeah.
Young people that was my age when I thought about that
Yeah.
they are unaliving themselves.
Yeah.
So beginning in this talk, I said my story is not just for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
1 in 4 of people, teenagers, young people who were my age when I was thinking like that. And we don't even get into statistics of older adults.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, what did it take? It took me partnering with somebody.
Yeah.
They came to that house and they made sure I was all right. That's God saying, not only do I love you, I want you here.
Yes.
Oh my
I
goodness.
need you here.
Yes.
And I'll send 2, 3 people to come get you in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
You can write whatever letters you want to write, but those people are going to accept you, love you, not shame you
Yeah.
No.
until you are able to now do the same thing for other people.
Yes.
So I'm not ashamed of my story because my story
Brings
him
him.
glory.
Yeah.
Yes.
It
Oh
brings him
man.
glory. The deep trenches that I had to go through to be sitting here today. And so God uses not only his voice, but he uses people around you to strengthen you until you're able to do those things on your own. I don't know if that answers your question or goes beyond that, but
You answered both question number 2 and number 3.
okay.
Because the next one, what's the story behind all that you do?
A few, look, it takes affirmation from other people. And when I'm thinking about that, like I said, I that was the first time, Carol, that you imparted. Another time, it's the small things that people do.
Yeah.
Because I could tell you about huge traumatic incidents that have happened, but it's the small. I remember getting ready to go to college, and in your all's house there was the first bedroom to the left. I think I can't really recall, but for some reason I was in there sitting on the floor, maybe getting my stuff together, and you came into the room and you just sat on the bed and you just said, "We're gonna really miss you."
Oh my.
You touched my shoulder. You're like, "Am, how do you remember that?" I remember the impressions. God impressed my life with that moment. He just said, "We're gonna really, y'all gonna miss me? But I mean, what is my life worth that you're gonna miss me?" So we have to be mindful of those small instances that we touch somebody's shoulder and how we've impressed. You may not even know that
Yeah.
this is answer. What's the story behind all that I do?
Yeah.
Somebody touched my shoulder.
Mm.
Somebody took a moment to say, "I know you're getting ready to go to the next level and that God has called you, but we're going to miss you." It's those little, it's little kids and boys and girls that if they could just hear "I love you," it'll transform their life. They don't even need housing and food. No, they just miss, "Nobody said I was proud of you."
Yeah.
So those are the things that shaped me over time. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That's just 2. There's so many. Dad, so many times. Chris Green has impressed his life on all of us through the hustle and bustle, whatever was going on in the back scene. And this is my story
Yeah.
on how and why I do what I do. It helped me through the major incidents. Because guess what? Life, remember I said life is gonna life.
Yeah, life is
Yes.
on life.
But self-care, you said, why self-care? Well, I had to slow down. At that point in time, I didn't know how to slow down. So it took another individual to say, "Hey, slow down. Let's look at how you've been impacted, how this is affecting you." So those touches, those moments, those opportunities, being chosen among my own peers to be a leader.
Yeah.
Yeah. You didn't have to choose me. I didn't think I should be chosen. Everybody come along with me. Come on. No, just you. I didn't forget.
Yeah.
I remember. But those were pivotal points that transformed my life. Period. When I got in trouble, you sat me down. What? I got to sit down. But guess what? It wasn't just a sit down. Here's some things that you can do while you're sitting down.
Yes. Yes.
So it's not, it's, here it is. You didn't just discipline, you discerned who I was so as to not break my spirit.
Yes.
My
We're
goodness.
walking around with a society of people who have broken spirits.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
They were disciplined in ways that was too much for them.
Yes.
Yeah.
So parents, discipline your child, but it also says don't
Don't
over
exasperate.
exasperate that child.
Yeah.
So it took discerning people. So how did you get? So now, how do I get word to where I'm at behind the scenes story? Now I can pass that on to a generation who is, man, they're dealing with triple.
Yeah.
It's not just I want to unalive myself. I got a plan.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how do I intervene? So now I'm able to intervene, get my education, get the wisdom I needed to now intervene, not only with that touch and that impression that was given to me, now the knowledge and wisdom that's needed to navigate and help them navigate those pitfalls in their lives.
Yeah.
So it was all a part of, so it was purpose. It was purposeful to bring me from pain to purpose.
Yeah.
And it always takes key people. And we have to go back and be able to, that's why I said those great, great questions, because it really makes you think about, what's needed in the community. I'm needed. What I went through is needed. The answers to what I went through is needed. And that makes it simple.
Yes, it does.
Be the thing that you needed
Yes. Yes.
while you were coming up.
Yes.
So again, my story is not for myself. And so there are a lot, that's surface of my story. That's where it started.
My goodness.
Wow.
Amethyst Roberson. You weren't supposed to put your host in tears.
Hey, I'm almost in tears. Yeah, when you reflect, yeah.
Yeah, but thank you so much for sharing that. And um, you have been a prime example of the slogan that we kind of adopted, that you don't have to try to light up the whole world, just brighten the corner or the people. Because if you brighten the corner where you are, you don't have any idea. And you're living testimony for us. You don't have any idea who's sitting on your corner. It's going to be lit up, and then God's going to take them to the world. And so we really thank you. Thank you for your obedience to the will and the purpose and the plan of God for your life. It's been an honor to have you on this podcast.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you.
Just a perfect example of responding with care, with compassion and awareness and respect and empathy for those that are around you, for those in your circle. And I'm so glad that already in your life, and as we looked at the things that you have implemented, already you're thinking about and implementing, passing it on to the next generation. Wow. This has been so good. Thank you, Amethyst, for being with us. For those of you that follow us here on the Responding with Care podcast, thank you for joining in with us today. And we trust that your life has been forever changed and impacted by what you have heard. God bless.
God bless.
Thank you.